Hi everybody, welcome to another Storytime with Sid. It is me, Sidney of Hightower, like it is every week. So here I am to tell you another story. Now this one that I found, we're getting to the shorter stories like I mentioned last week, but this one that I found is only a few pages, so this one's going to be really short today. But I think it's an important story because, one, it's a little sad, but two, it describes the love a mother has for their child. And honestly, with all the magic in the world, there's nothing really more powerful than that. So, let's get started. Today, the story we are going to be reading is called The Story of a Mother. A mother was sitting beside her little child. She was so sad, so afraid that he would die. He was very pale and his little eyes were closed. He was breathing faintly, and once in a while he took a deep breath as if he were sighing, and the mother would gaze even more sorrowfully at the little soul. Then there was a knock on the door, and in came a poor old man wrapped in what looked like a big horse blanket, because it was warm, and that's what he needed. It was a cold winter, after all. Everything outside was covered in ice and snow, and the wind was blowing so hard that it stung your face. Since the old man was shaking with cold and the little child was sleeping for a moment, the mother went over to put a little pot of beer on the stove to warm it up for him. The old man sat and rocked while the mother sat down on a chair close by. She looked at her sick child who was breathing hard and lifted the little hand. "You think I'll be allowed to keep him, don't you?" she said. "Surely our Lord won't take him away from me." And the old man, who was death himself, nodded so strangely. It could just as well mean yes or no. The mother looked down at her lap and the tears ran down her cheeks. Her head grew heavy. For 3 nights and days she hadn't closed her eyes, and now she fell asleep. But only for a moment. Then she gave a start and shivered with cold. "What's this?" she said, and looked all around. But the old man was gone. And her little child was gone too. He had taken the child with him, and over the corner the old clock was whirring and whirring. The big lead weight plunged all the way down to the floor. Bam! And the clock stood still. But the poor mother ran out of the house, calling for her child. Outside, in the midst of the snow, sat a woman wearing long black robes, and she said, "Death has been to your house. I saw him rush off with your little child. He moves faster than the wind, and he never brings back what he takes." "Just tell me the way he went," said the mother. "Tell me which way, and I'll find him." "I know which way," said the woman in the black robes. "But before I tell you, you will have to go sing for me all the songs you've ever sung for your child. I'm fond of them. I've heard them before. I am the night. I saw your tears when you sang them." "I'll sing them all, every one of them," said the mother. "But don't stop me from reaching him, from finding my child." But the night sat mute and motionless. Then the mother wrung her hands, and she sang and wept. And there were many songs, but even more tears. And then the night said, "Go to the right into the dark pine forest. That's where I saw death headed with your little child." Deep inside the forest the paths crossed, so she no longer knew which way to go. That's where a hawthorn bush stood. It had neither leaves nor flowers. It was cold winter time after all, and frost hung from the branches. "Have you seen death go past with my little child?" "Oh, yes," said the hawthorn bush. "But I won't tell you which way he went unless you first warm me up at your heart. I'm freezing to death. I'm becoming nothing but ice." She pressed the hawthorn bush tightly to her breast so it would warm up properly. The thorns went right into her flesh, and her blood flowed in big drops. But the hawthorn bush shot out fresh green leaves, and the flowers appeared on it in cold winter night. So warm did it feel at the heart of the sorrowful mother. And the hawthorn bush told her which way she should go. Then she came to a great lake where there were neither ships nor boats. The lake was not frozen enough to bear her, or open and shallow enough for her to wade through it, yet she had to cross it if she wanted to find her child. So she lay to drink all the water from the lake, although of course this was impossible for a human to do. But the sorrowful mother thought that even so maybe a miracle would occur. "No, it will never work," said the lake. "Why don't the two of us come to an agreement instead? I'm fond of collecting pearls, and your eyes are the clearest ones I've ever seen. If you will cry them out for me, then I will carry you across the great hothouse where Death lives, tending to the flowers and trees. Each of them is a human life." "Oh, I would give anything to reach my child," said the weeping mother, and she cried even harder. Her eyes sank to the bottom of the lake and turned into 2 precious pearls. Then the lake lifted her up as if she were sitting on a swing, and she flew in a great arc to the shore on the other side where a strange house stood, stretching for miles. It was impossible to tell whether it was a mountain with forests and caves or whether it had been hammered together, though the poor mother couldn't see it because she had cried her eyes out. "Where can I find Death who took my little child?" she said. "He hasn't arrived yet," said the old woman who tended to the graves and was supposed to take care of Death's great house. "How did you manage to find your way here, and who helped you?" "Our Lord helped me," she said. "He is merciful, and you will be too. Where can I find my little child?" "Well, I don't know your child," said the woman, "and you can't see. Many flowers and trees have withered in the night. Death will soon come to replant them. I suppose you know that everyone has a tree or flower of life, depending on what kind of person they are. They look just like other plants, but they have hearts that beat. A child's heart beats too. Listen for it. Maybe you can recognize your child's. But will you give me if I tell you what else you have to do?" "I have nothing to give," said the sorrowful mother, "but I will go to the ends of the earth for you." "Well, there's nothing that I want," said the woman, "but you can give me your long black hair. I'm sure you know how beautiful it is, and it's to my liking. I will give you my white hair in return, at least that's something." "Is that all you ask?" she said. "I will gladly give it to you." And she gave away her beautiful hair and received the old woman's snow-white hair in return. When they went into Death's great hothouse, there were flowers and trees that grew in wondrous profusion. There were delicate hyacinths under glass belts, and big hardy peonies. Water plants grew there, some quite healthy, others sickly. Water snakes rested on them, and black crabs were clamped onto their stalks. There were lovely palms, oaks, and plane trees, parsley and flowering thyme. Each tree and each flower had its own name. Each was a human life. The person was still alive, one in China, one in Greenland, all around the world. There were big trees and small pots, making them look so miserable and ready to burst the pots. And in many places dreary little flowers stood in a rich soil with moss all around, coddled and well tended. The sorrowful mother bent over all the smallest plants and listened to the human hearts beating inside of them, and among the millions, she recognized her own child. "Here it is," she cried, and stretched her hand over a little blue crocus drooping wretchedly to one side. "Don't touch the flower," said the old woman. "Stand over here, and when Death arrives, I'm expecting him any minute. Don't let him pull up the plant. If you threaten to do the same with other flowers, then he'll be frightened. He has to answer to our Lord for them. None can be pulled up until he gives permission." All of a sudden, an ice-cold wind rushed through the hall, and the blind mother could tell that Death had arrived. "How did you manage to find your way here?" he asked. "How could you get here faster than I did?" "I'm a mother," she said. And Death stretched out his long hand toward the delicate little flower, but she cupped her hands firmly around it, very tightly, and yet afraid that she might touch one of its petals. Then Death blew on her hand, and it felt colder than the cold wind, and her hands fell weakly away. "There's nothing you can do to me," said Death. "But our Lord can," she said. "I merely do his will," said Death. "I am his gardener. I take all his flowers and trees and plant them in the great garden of paradise in the unknown land. But how well they thrive or what it's like here, I cannot tell you." "Give me my child back," said the mother, and she wept and pleaded. Suddenly she grabbed hold of 2 beautiful flowers nearby, one in each hand, and shouted at Death, "I'll tear up all your flowers because I'm in such despair." "Don't touch them," said Death. You say you're so unhappy, and now you went to make another mother just as unhappy." "Another mother," said the poor woman, and let go of the flowers at once. "Here are your eyes," said Death. "I fished them out of the lake. They were shining so brightly I didn't know they were yours. Take them back. They're even clearer than before. Then look down into this deep well right here, and I'll tell you the names of the 2 flowers you wanted to tear up, and you'll see their whole future, their entire human life. You'll see what you wanted to disturb and destroy." She looked down into the well, and it was sheer bliss to see how one of them became a blessing for the world, and see how much joy and happiness spread all around. And she looked at the other life, and it was so sorrow and suffering with horror and misery. "Both are God's will," said Death. "Which of them is the flower of unhappiness, and which is the blessed one?" she asked. "I won't tell you," said Death, "but I will tell you this. One flower belongs to your own child. It's your child's fate that you saw, your own child's future." Then the mother screamed in terror, "Which of them is my child? Tell me! Save the innocent one! Save my child from all that misery! Better to take him away. Take him to God's kingdom. Forget my tears, forget my pleas, and everything I've said and done." "I don't understand you," said Death. "Do you want your child back? Or should I take him inside to the place you cannot know?" The mother wrung her hands and fell to her knees and prayed to our Lord. "Don't listen when I plead against your will, for your will is best. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me." She bowed her head to her lap, and then Death took her child to the unknown land. And that was the story of a mother. That was fascinating. That was such a fascinating look into how some people view death. I personally, I don't know. I don't know how death manifests itself because I don't have to think about death for a very long time. So honestly, I've never seen it or how it manifests in our realm. In the human realm, it comes in many different forms in many different ways. I like the idea of death taking flowers in a garden. However, it is sad to me that the mother was so desperate to see her child alive that she overlooked the life it could have had. It's very interesting to me because the thought of fate and life and the path that is set out for you is a very mortal thing. The Fae really don't think about that too much because we live for far too long and we figure, well, why not? But it is fascinating how human beings deal with their own mortality. And it's a very touching story of a mother who just wanted to do anything for their child. But there comes a point where you do have to let it up to fate. I suppose that's the moral of the story. Let me know what you think. Because I'd love to hear it, because that one is certainly going to be stuck in my mind for a very long time. Anyway, thank you for watching another story. Hello, goodbye, good to see you all again. I love you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and stay happy, healthy, and safe. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Bye!